Okay, let's get started with Unit 18, Right Triangle Trigonometry. I'm sure this will quickly be your favorite. Here we go. 18.1. So first of all, we need to remember the Pythagorean Theorem, where if you have a right triangle, the two sides that are not the hypotenuse, so the legs of a right triangle, and C is always the hypotenuse. So if you square each of the legs, that should equal the hypotenuse squared, or A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so off here to the right, if you are given a triangle with sides A, B, and C, so that A squared plus B squared equals C squared, then it's a right triangle. So that's the converse. If you have a right triangle, then A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, if you don't know it's a right triangle and you know this is true, the two legs squared added together equals the hypotenuse squared, or what looks like the hypotenuse, then it's a right triangle. So some quick examples. So this would be a leg, so x squared plus 7 squared would equal 9 squared. So calculate that out. X squared is going to equal, this is 49, that's 81, so 81 minus 49, that would be 32. Then when you square root, you're going to have plus or minus the square root of 32. Now, it's not going to be negative because this is a side of a triangle, so we'll just ignore the negative part because we're talking about a length here. But we will simplify the square root of 32 to the square root of 16 times the square root of 2, so it's actually 4 square root 2, and we want to simplify all of those radicals. Okay? Now this one, example 2. Here we could, create a right triangle. Okay? Create a right triangle here. We'll say, all right, well, 18 squared plus x squared equals 16 squared. And we'll find out what this side is over here, which would be this side over here. Oh no, sorry, 18 is the whole thing. So it's 18 minus 5. So this would be 13x and 16. That's what we need to use. So x squared plus 13 squared equals 16 squared. So 13 squared is 169. 16 squared is 256. Okay, so we have x squared plus 169 equals 256. Subtract the 169, and x squared would equal 87. So x would be the square root of 87. I don't think that simplifies. Okay, example 3. If a triangle with sides 20, 21, and 29 is a right triangle, how do we know? Well, the longest one, we'll say, well, that's probably the hypotenuse if it is a right triangle. So you'd have to equal to 29 squared. And so then the other two would be the other legs. So the longest one would be the longest, which is C. So is this true? Well, 20 squared is 400. 21 squared is 441. Does that equal 29 squared, which is 841? So those two together I can see is 841, so yes. Okay. So we're going to find the value of x. Okay, real quick. This is your assignment part. Okay, these 8 questions. So just to note, you're using the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay, if you want to find x, then you're going to have to work in this triangle. X would be the big triangle here. Is that going to be a right triangle? If this is 90, you can do 12 and this part of it and 29. Okay, and then you can say, okay, well, if I know this part of it, then you can solve for this part and add them together. A roofer leaned a 16-foot ladder against a house. If the base of the ladder is 5 feet from the house, so you're creating a right triangle. House, base is 5 feet, 16-foot ladder, how high up the house does the ladder reach? And so on. All right.